Here we go then with this week's stretch video. Today we're going to look at some of the little tight spots we can get around the hips and the adductors and the abductors on the outsides and insides of the legs. It's important though to take a little step back and think about why we get these tightness and maybe some pain sometimes in these areas. Usually it's because potentially we've started doing a new movement, or we're moving in a way that is compensating for a weakness or an imbalance in another area. The best way and simplest way to work on imbalances, usually from stability when we're talking about the lower body, is to look at the lunge movement pattern. When we lunge, and this is the way to fix it, we're going to have either, I'm just going to drop right to the bottom, the knee falling in or twisting out. Now that's going to have then an impact on how the hip kind of feels, and over time might be giving a little niggly pain. If that's happening when we're squatting, so we squat and the knees fall out or the knees fall in, then there's going to mean more work for the muscles that are on the opposite side of the ones that aren't really strong enough to support stability. So back to the lunge, the best way to promote more stability is to utilise those muscles. So if we lunge in a really good pattern, we are going to promote the abductors and adductors working well with the quads and the glutes and the hamstrings to be as stable as possible. When that then transfers back to squats, hopefully that's going to be now up and down. So as a warm-up, we'd add in some lunges and think of them as prehabilitation, so we don't cause any problems. The lunge pattern needs to be in your exercise repertoire, maybe once or twice a week. It doesn't have to be weighted, body weight. Walking lunges are also a good progression. Up, all the way over, into the next step. Sets at 16 to 20, build that up a little bit, so we've got some good conditioning and stability into those adductor and abductor muscles. Now, to stretch them if they're tight rather than not working correctly, once we've got them working correctly, maybe to start with they're going to feel like they need a stretch because they've been working hard. Great way to stretch the adductors and abductors is what's called the happy baby. So we're going to start with just grabbing the knees and bringing those up, and we're going to feel a nice stretch around the inside. Not quite the happy baby yet, because the happy baby is like when babies grab their own ankles or feet. We're going to grab both ankles and feet and bring those up, and we're going to feel a nice stretch just coming around the insides of the legs and the outsides as well. It's quite nice. Another way to do the similar sort of stretch is actually just sat up and feet together, and then let gravity do most of the work. And you can get a little bit of arm tension as well. So other stretches that will be useful: stretching the quads, lying down, the glute bridge quad stretch. This would be a useful one. Reaching up, pulling those heels up nice and close. That's going to get the whole complex working. Also, the pigeon stretch on each side. That's going to work nicely around the hip as well. More into the glute and coming round. The way to really get the niggly hips and attachments, the top of the hip flexors, abductor and adductors, is with kneeling hip adductor stretch, which probably unsurprisingly looks like an extended lunge, and then up nice and tall, and we're putting the stretch focus here. That's going to be really good for the hip flexors. They're the muscles that come from across the quads, over the pelvis, making sure your legs don't fall off, essentially. You're going to do that on each side, up nice and tall, keeping everything nice and square. Do around to the other side as well. And then go back to the first leg. We're then going to release that tension. We're going to reach inside. So now we're going to transfer to the hamstring and adductors. And then there's a little bit of a routine to this, but we're going to skip a part because it's actually quite difficult to do. And then we're going to go to the opposite side and rotate round. Not too much stretch there. We're going to put an extra focus on the other side, put the hand on the inside and stretching that up. And that's going to stretch it again through the hip and the connecting muscles. So it's doing a nice rotation. Where I realised that a client was asking me about what's the best stretch to do, and then he realised he's got his own dysfunction and I was really tight in my hip. So I'm stretching on the inside of the leg first. Arms up on the inside. Stretch up this way. Round to the other side. And this is the one I'm stretching up. In there. And no reason why you can't go around the whole routine again with the hip flexor stretch, reaching inside, reaching over and twisting back the other way. Happy baby does look a little bit strange, you know, if you do it at the gym or whatever, but I promise you it's nice and effective. And then that routine of hip flexor, reaching in, twisting and twisting is going to be really beneficial to connective hip flexors, abductors, adductors, and all those muscles around their hips that are really important. Connecting muscles, really important to keep them balanced for good stability in your other bigger movements.